Hello everyone, today's we are talking about LMIA is not required. Many individuals are unaware of this and believe that LMIA is required if we wish to work in Canada. What is Labour Market Impact Assessment? Before recruiting a foreign worker, a Canadian business may be required to get a Labour Market Impact Assessment. A favourable LMIA will demonstrate that a foreign worker is required to fill the position. Additionally, it will demonstrate that no Canadian citizen or permanent resident is qualified for the position. A confirmation letter is another name for a positive LMIA. Employers must apply for LMIAs if they are required. The employee can submit a work permit application when the company receives the LMIA. Now, let us move on. Types of work permits in Canada. So basically, there are two types of work permits in Canada. First is job-specific work permit or closed work permit. The second is an open work permit. The foreign worker is only permitted to work in Canada for a total of 4 years, either continuously or cumulatively, after which they must leave the country for another 4 years before being permitted to work there once more. Additionally, working in Canada gives you a distinct advantage in these immigration programs. The majority of work permits kinds include an application cost. Nevertheless, depending on the particulars of the job being given, the employer can waive this or pay for it. If your application for a work permit is accepted, you will be given an acceptance letter, and, depending on your citizenship, a temporary residence visa, and your work permit will be granted at the port of entry into Canada. Your work visa will specify the employer, the kind of employment, and the time frame for which you are permitted to work in Canada. You must depart Canada after this period. Let's now discuss job-specific permits. Your work visa will specify the employer, the kind of employment, and the time frame for which you are permitted to work in Canada. You must depart Canada after this period. The worker will need to get a new job-specific permit if they want to work in Canada for a different employer. A Labour Market Impact Assessment, which is used to make sure there are no competent Canadian citizens or permanent residents in Canada for the position, will often need to be requested by the business. An application cannot be approved without a positive LMIA result. You need to have a copy of the positive missing in action notification and a legitimate employment offer from the company to apply for a job-specific work visa. Second, comes open work permits. With open work permits, the holder is permitted to work in the majority of jobs that are accessible in Canada without restriction from any company or position. An LMIA or a legitimate employment offer is not necessary for open work permits. Open work permits are, however, only accessible to individuals who fulfill the extremely stringent qualifying standards. In the following cases, you could be qualified for an open work permit. 1. A postgrad recently graduated from certain post-secondary institutions in Canada. 2. A spouse of a temporary foreign worker in Canada. 3. An applicant for permanent residence under certain immigration programs. 4. A dependent family member of a permanent residence applicant. Now, in the end, let us talk about intracompany transfer, which is through a closed work permit, but you can apply without LMIA. So, an LMIA is not necessary for work permits for intracompany transfers. These licenses are only valid for the transfer of executives, senior management, and knowledgeable professionals from a foreign firm to a Canadian company that is affiliated with that foreign company. The employee must have worked for the firm full-time for at least a year to be qualified for an intracompany transfer permit. The express entry method may also make employees employed under an intracompany transfer permit eligible for permanent residency. So, under intracompany transfers, you can apply for a work permit without LMIA.
That is over today in video. Thanks for watching entire video. Hopefully information useful to you. See you later in next video.